Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Horror Stories. I'm here to tell you what happened to me and my family when we stayed at the Overlook Hotel in Colorado. It was the winter of 1980, and my father, Jack, had taken a job as the caretaker of the hotel during the off-season. He thought it would be a good opportunity for him to work on his writing and for us to spend some quality time together. He was wrong. The hotel was an old and isolated place, surrounded by snow and mountains. It had a dark history of violence and murder, and it was haunted by the ghosts of its past. The hotel had a mind of its own, and it wanted to claim us as its victims. It started with my father. He became obsessed with his work, and he started to act strange and angry. He would spend hours in the hotel's ballroom, typing the same sentence over and over again. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. He would ignore me and my mother, Wendy, and he would snap at us for no reason. He also started to see and hear things that weren't there, like the ghost of a former caretaker who had killed his family and himself with an axe. I also saw and heard things, but they were different. I had a special gift that my mother called the Shining. It was the ability to see and communicate with the spirits of the dead and to sense things that others couldn't. I saw visions of blood and violence, of the hotel's past and future. I also met a friendly ghost named Dick Halloran, who was the hotel's cook. He had the Shining too, and he taught me how to use it. He also warned me about the hotel and told me to stay away from room 237, where something evil lurked. One day, I disobeyed him and went to room 237. I saw a woman in the bathtub who turned into a rotting corpse and tried to strangle me. I ran out of the room, screaming, and my mother came to my rescue. She saw the bruises on my neck, and she confronted my father. She accused him of hurting me, and she told him that we had to leave the hotel. He denied everything, and he became furious. He grabbed her by the throat, and he tried to kill her. I grabbed a knife, and I stabbed him in the hand. He let go of her, and we ran away. We locked ourselves in the bathroom, and we tried to escape through the window. But it was too small for my mother, and we were trapped. My father came after us, wielding an axe. He hacked at the door, shouting, "Here's Johnny!" He broke through the door, and he reached for us. I thanked him for his concern, but I told him that I had to go. I said it was my duty as a journalist and as a niece. He sighed and handed me the key to my room. He said he would pray for me, and that he hoped I would change my mind. I smiled and assured him that I would be fine. I said I would only stay for one night and that I would be back in the morning. He nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. I went to my room and unpacked my things. I had a backpack, a flashlight, a camera, a recorder, and a knife. I also had a map of the mansion that I had found online. It showed the layout of the house and the locations of the rooms, the stairs, the basement, and the secret tunnel. I studied the map and planned my route. I decided to start from the main entrance and work my way to the master bedroom, where the Blackwoods supposedly performed their rituals. I hoped to find some clues there, or maybe even my uncle's camera. I waited until it was dark, and then I left the inn. I walked along the road until I reached the gate of the mansion. It was a wrought iron gate with a sign that read Blackwood Manor. The sign was rusty and crooked, and the gate was locked with a chain and a padlock. I took out my knife and cut the chain. I pushed the gate open and entered the property. The mansion loomed before me like a giant shadow. It was a 3-story building with a Gothic architecture. It had a pointed roof with several chimneys and turrets. It had many windows, but they were all boarded up or broken. It had a large porch with a wooden door. The door had a knocker shaped like a lion's head. The mansion looked old and decrepit, and I could smell the rot and the mold. I walked up the porch and tried the door. It was unlocked. I opened it and stepped inside. I turned on my flashlight and looked around. I was in a large hall with a marble floor and a chandelier. There were paintings on the walls depicting the Blackwood family. They looked stern and sinister, and their eyes seemed to follow me. There was a staircase in the middle of the hall leading to the upper floors. There were also several doors leading to different rooms. I took out my recorder and pressed the record button. I spoke into the microphone and said, "Hello, this is Anna Jones, reporting from the Blackwood Manor. It is October 31st, 2023, and I am here to investigate the mystery of the haunted house and the disappearance of my uncle James Jones. I have just entered the mansion, and I am about to explore the ground floor. I will try to find any evidence of paranormal activity or any clues about what happened to the missing people. I will keep you updated on my progress. Wish me luck." I put the recorder in my pocket and proceeded to the first door on my left. I opened it and entered the room. It was a library with shelves full of books. The books were dusty and moldy, and some of them were torn or burned. I scanned the titles and saw that they were mostly about occultism, alchemy, astrology, and other esoteric subjects. I wondered if the Blackwoods had used these books for their rituals and what secrets they had learned from them. I walked to the back of the library and saw a fireplace. There was a painting above the fireplace of a man in a black robe. He had a long beard and a pentagram on his forehead. He was holding a staff and a book. He looked like a wizard or a cult leader. I recognized him as Edward Blackwood, the patriarch of the family. He was the one who built the mansion and who started the whole saga. I felt a chill as I looked at his face. He had a cold and cruel expression, and his eyes were dark and piercing. He seemed to stare right at me, as if he knew I was there. I felt a sudden urge to leave the room, and I turned around. As I did, I heard a voice behind me. It was a deep and raspy voice, and it said, "Who are you, and what are you doing in my house?" I gasped and looked back. The painting was still there, but the mouth of Edward Blackwood was moving. He was talking to me. He was alive. I screamed and ran out of the room. I slammed the door behind me and leaned against it. I was shaking and sweating. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. It was impossible. It was a trick. It had to be. I took out my recorder and spoke into it. I said, "I just had a terrifying encounter in the library. I saw the painting of Edward Blackwood, and he spoke to me. He asked me who I was and what I was doing in his house. It was like he was alive and he was angry. I don't know how this is possible, but I think the house is haunted. I think the spirits of the Blackwoods are still here, and they don't want me here. I have to get out of here before it's too late." I put the recorder back in my pocket and looked at the map. I saw that there was another door on the opposite side of the hall. That led to the dining room. I thought that maybe I could find another way out from there, or at least a place to hide. I decided to go there and hope for the best. I crossed the hall and opened the door to the dining room. I entered the room and saw a long table with chairs and plates. There was a chandelier above the table and a fireplace on the wall. There were also windows, but they were covered with curtains. The room was dark and silent, and I felt a sense of dread. I walked to the fireplace and saw a portrait of the Blackwood family. It was a group photo with Edward, his wife, and their 4 children. They were all dressed in black, and they had the same cold and cruel look as Edward. They looked like a family of evil. I felt a wave of nausea as I looked at them. I wondered if they had killed anyone, or sacrificed anyone, or done anything horrible. I wondered if they had died in the fire, or if they had escaped, or if they had become something else. I wondered if they were still here, and if they were watching me. I always liked old houses. They had a certain charm and history that appealed to me. That's why I was thrilled when I found a cheap rental in a quaint neighborhood, a stone's throw away from my new job. The house was a Victorian-style mansion with a large porch, a pointed roof, and a stained glass window. It looked like something out of a fairy tale. I moved in on a sunny Saturday with the help of my friend Jake. He helped me unload my boxes and furniture, and we had a pizza break on the couch. "So, what do you think of the place?" he asked me, taking a bite. "I love it. It's perfect for me. It has so much character and space." And the rent is a steal, I said, smiling. Yeah, it is. But don't you think it's a bit creepy? He said, looking around. Creepy? How so? I asked. Well, I don't know. It's just old and dark and dusty. And did you notice the weird paintings on the walls? They look like they're staring at you, he said, pointing at a portrait of a stern-looking woman in a black dress. Oh, come on. That's just the style of the time. They're not creepy. They're artistic. And they add to the atmosphere, I said, dismissing his concerns. Okay. Suit yourself. But I wouldn't want to spend the night here alone, especially not in the basement. Did you see the basement? He said, shivering. No, I haven't. Why? What's in the basement? I asked, curious. I don't know. I just peeked through the door. It was dark and damp and smelled like mold. And there was a strange noise coming from down there. Like a low growl, he said, lowering his voice. A growl? Are you kidding me? Maybe it was a rat, or a pipe, or your imagination. There's nothing to be afraid of, Jake. It's just an old house. It has its quirks, that's all, I said, laughing. Fine. Believe what you want. But I'm telling you, there's something off about this place, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was haunted, he said, half joking. Haunted? By what? Ghosts? Vampires? Werewolves? Come on, Jake, you're being ridiculous. There's no such thing as hauntings. It's all superstition and nonsense. This house is perfectly normal. And I'm perfectly happy here, I said, confident. All right. I'll drop it. But don't say I didn't warn you. And if you ever need a place to crash, you know where to find me, he said, getting up. Thanks, Jake, but I'll be fine. Trust me, nothing is going to happen to me here, I said, hugging him. He left shortly after, and I spent the rest of the day unpacking and settling in. I felt a surge of excitement and satisfaction as I arranged my books, clothes, and knickknacks. I felt like I had found my dream home. That night, I went to bed early, feeling tired but happy. I slept in the master bedroom, which had a large bed, a fireplace, and a balcony. I snuggled under the covers and closed my eyes, looking forward to my new life. I woke up in the middle of the night, feeling cold and uneasy. I opened my eyes and saw that the room was pitch black. I reached for the lamp on the nightstand, but it didn't work. I tried the switch on the wall, but nothing happened. I realized that the power was out. I got up and walked to the window, hoping to see some light from the street. But there was none. The whole neighborhood was dark. I looked at the clock on the wall, but it was frozen. I checked my phone, but it was dead. I felt a surge of panic and confusion. What was going on? Was there a blackout? A storm? A disaster? I decided to go downstairs and check the fuse box. Maybe I could fix the problem. I grabbed a flashlight from the closet and headed to the door. I opened it and stepped out. I wish I hadn't. As soon as I stepped out of the bedroom, I felt a wave of terror wash over me. The hallway was dark and silent, but I could sense a presence. A malevolent presence. A presence that hated me. A presence that wanted to hurt me. I shone the flashlight around, but I saw nothing. Only shadows and shapes. But I heard something. A low growl. A growl that came from the basement. The same growl that Jake had heard. I froze, unable to move. I felt a cold sweat on my forehead. I felt a lump in my throat. I felt a chill in my spine. I realized that Jake was right. There was something off about this place. There was something in the basement. Something that was not human. Something that was not alive. Something that was haunting me. And it was coming for me.